Welcome to the Lazy CEO podcast, where Jim Schlexer, author of Great CEOs Are Lazy and founder of the CEO Project, features compelling experts and topics for CEOs of mid to large-size companies. Now, let's get started with the show.
Welcome, everybody. My name is Jim Schlexer. I am your host, and welcome to the Lazy CEO podcast. Today, we've got a really interesting person. And you know what I find, and I've written articles about this, that exceptional performers at work are exceptional in many ways in their life. And in fact, that's kind of an interview question of, tell me about your hobbies and your interests and, you know, where, and when you see exceptional performance, it probably means they're exceptional at work as well. Well, we've got somebody just like that today. And Louise McEvoy is going to share with us some insight around technology migration, distribution, as well as her personal, I mean, it's hard to call it a hobby, but we're going to get into that as well. So why don't we get started? Welcome, Louise. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Jim. What an intro. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you got to live up to it now, right?
The pressure's on.
So tell us, Louise is a VP of US Channel Sales at Trend Micro. Why don't you tell us just a little bit about what Trend does for those that don't know, and what you're owning as responsibility for channel sales? What does that mean?
Yeah, Trend Micro is a cybersecurity company providing cyber solutions for enterprise business all the way down to a small and medium business and commercial. And, you know, cybersecurity is a big, big deal these days for you and I, for large corporations. They have our data, they have our images, there's a big need for cybersecurity, and Trend Micro has been in the business now 30 years. So we're looking at, you know, securing your endpoints, laptops, phones, right through to securing data services to data in the cloud. Everything along the whole data journey is part of what we do. It's an exciting place to be. Scary though, it makes you a little paranoid.
Well, you're in the arms race, right? I mean, every time the bad guys and gals come up with something weird, you got to figure out a way to counter it, whether it's data in motion or data at rest, right? So
yeah, and with AI coming, you know, getting bigger and bigger, there's, you know, we use this term within the company. We do AI for security, but also security for AI. Yeah. So everything is changing very, very quickly. So trying to stay on top of that is something that we do very diligently.
You know, one of the trends that I've been understanding on AI is just the realization of the processing power required to do it and do it well. It's profound. Electrical, pure expense. This is why NVIDIA is now, you know, the most valuable company on the planet, pretty much, because they're selling all these, you know, processors. Yeah. How do you guys think about, you know, we're going to keep scaling and scaling, but are we reaching any limits in terms of electrical or cost, or like how much are we willing to spend to stay secure in this way as we try to deploy AI into these environments?
I mean, it's a great question. I don't know how much that's being addressed right now. I don't know where people know that where this is going to go. The computing power, I think it's beyond where we've actually thought we could be at this moment. And I'm not sure if people are really having those bigger conversations, or if they are, it's outside of my purview, because we're in a land of kind of unknown. NVIDIA is very, very interesting. We're partnered with them around the security for those microprocessors, and there's so much ahead, so much unknown as well. And that's one big topic that we have to have big conversations about.
Interesting. When we've had a couple of clients that have had, you know, cyber attacks and unfortunately cyber penetrations where they had data encrypted, and these generally are literally businesses. They're in, you know, bad parts of the world, but they're businesses. I mean, what's your insight on that whole business model of encrypting people's data and holding it ransom?
So There's a lot going on behind the scenes. It's absolutely an enormous business. It's millions and millions of dollars that's
Yeah.
being stolen from you and me, but from, again, very, very large corporations. Some of them are very intricate, detailed companies that know exactly what they're doing. There's a whole underground that we are not even aware of. Some of it, unfortunately, is people who are human trafficked and are forced to be part of this underground network and
That
forced
just
to.
makes it worse than I already thought it was. Oh my gosh.
It is. But you think about those, WhatsApp messages that you get. Oh, hello, am I reaching out to the right person? Those phishing tactics, there is a lot going on, and it's not only those large corporations where they're hiring people, it's people who are not meant to be there or choose to be there.
Wow.
And when we think about the dark web, there is like an eBay for stolen credit card data, an eBay for stolen data and images. You can bid on this information. It's a massive, massive industry, if I can call it that. And it's a very scary place. I think we've got to be very mindful of the information we put out there.
And it's not just, some people say, well, I've got cyber insurance, I'm all good, right? They'll pay for it. But I think that's just underthinking the problem, actually. Um, and we've had people with problems, even though they say, hey, I've got a claim. And then the first thing the insurance company does is says, well, we're not really willing to pay this.
Yes. Cyber insurance is getting bigger. It's another industry, this whole cyber insurance, it's getting bigger and bigger. But the requirements, just like any insurance, they're not going to pay on, they're not in the business to pay. So
Yeah,
you have to
right.
provide a whole lot of information that you have, kept everything secure all along the way. And sometimes bad threat actors get in anyway because one person made a really small mistake, and that's all it took. Um, when we think about just the payments, it doesn't take the cost of what you can get doesn't amount to the losses that you face. And it's sort of like when your house burns down, well, you get the insurance for it, but you lose all of that, the contents and all the things that are really critical to you. In business as well, you can lose a whole lot. Your brand, your customers, you are losing a whole lot of data that if you lose that, you can be sued by many,
Oh,
many
yeah.
people, including if you're out of compliance. Now you've got government regulations are on top of things. Like it's getting bigger and bigger, and it's something that should be really taken seriously. And it surprises me how often companies let it lapse,
Yeah.
and that would be the last thing you want to let lapse.
And it usually is, as you said, some little silly thing that we didn't think of, or a partner. Many times they come in through a partner network, right? So it's a supplier that's linked into your system. They penetrate on that side. Then they're
Look,
pernicious. There's no doubt about it.
the target attack happened just, a heating and air conditioner, contractor coming into a building. They're like someone got phished through a LinkedIn contact. There's so many ways to infiltrate. So it means that everyone in your organization has to be on all the time, not just your IT staff, but you and me who are clicking on links in our emails or going to a site that we think is a secure website, but it's not. It's redirected to somewhere else. And now they can sniff on the network. Like it's really hard to contain all the threats, and everyone in the corporation is responsible for their actions, and you have to be extremely diligent. At Trend, we have constant training to keep
Yeah.
up with here's the next threat, here's the next one. And yeah, there's a lot going on.
One of the things I talk about is in sales, you need to create a need or awareness that there's a problem so you can then solve the problem, right? But in your business, it feels like, if I'm not waking up screaming in the middle of the night after I talk to you, then you haven't done your job, like just terrified of what's going to happen to my business.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you got a heck of a trend behind you, not no pun intended.
Yeah, thank you. I'm trying to be an advocate for this because I feel like the more we do business online, the more people are looking for more of our personal information.
Yeah.
And kind of it bothers me where, your doctor or dentist want you to upload a picture of yourself to their portal. And, oh, because we want to be able to greet you when you get to the office. No, I don't need that greeting. I'm good without it. Where we want pictures of whatever, procedures, and we're going to put it on our phone or we're going to put it in our laptop. How do you secure that data? I ask these questions all the time and I try not to be a brat about it, but I really am, really mindful of what I put out there. And
Mm,
because just the average doctor, dentist, or anyone who's just providing services doesn't have the mindset of how am I securing this data, these images, and where are they being placed? Oh, it's in my laptop, it's password protected. That's not enough. That
right.
if there's just, having someone take pictures of you on their iPhone, that's going to their cloud. Is your cloud protected? Yes, the cloud is protected, but the data you put there is up. It's the protection is up to you. There's so much that people don't understand, and I really try to like get people to be mindful. Is this really necessary? And companies are pushing back. Oh, if you don't let me scan your driver's license as you check in, then you go to these hotels now. I need your driver's license. I need a picture of it. No, you don't need a picture of my driver's license. You just need to know that I'm paying for the hotel. That's
Right.
it. Don't need to know where I live and how much I weigh and my eye color. You don't need to know all that,
So
right?
do you push back when people ask? Is that advice you would give to somebody? Oh, push back. Like, why do you need that? I don't want to give it to you.
Yeah. And I try to do it very respectfully. Hey, I'm in cybersecurity. I recognize your data may not be, fully protected. So therefore, it's up to me to protect myself. Really, if you just need my credit card. That's
Yeah.
it.
Love it. So let's talk a little bit about channel sales because a lot of the people listening would be either using channel sales or be involved in them in some ways. Sort of why strategically do you see trend using channel? Because you could be direct in many cases, right? Just hire your own people and go to these markets and hire specialists, even if they're vertical expertises. Yet
Yeah.
you choose to do channel, and then maybe also go into how do you think about channel performance? Like, what's a good channel partner if you're going to be a channel partner? So maybe this why, and then what makes a good one.
Okay, so the why. So we have our own sales team and it's
Of course.
important. Yeah,
Yeah.
most companies do. But in order to grow the business, you can't be everywhere. You can't have the expertise. You can't hire 100 sellers when you need 500. Now you're putting your resources against something where we put our resources against threat intelligence, against building out the secure platform, against zero-day research. Our core value is cybersecurity.
Mm,
So don't put it into back-end processing and legal. Yeah, we have a staff around that, and we have a staff around sales. Where we want to put our resource is cyber threats, that research. Therefore, we build out our ecosystem in other parts of the business. And one of those ecosystem plays is our partners. So our partners are now an extended arm of our sales team. So now instead of having 100 sellers, we can have 10,000 people selling Trend Micro in the US, just the US alone.
yep. Yep.
And these sellers can be, it can be in all different capacities. They can be selling into your local markets in your little town, or they could be selling to the large corporations because they have, their own sales team. So you're now exponentially growing and growing and growing, and you're growing the expertise. We can't have all expertise around, let's say we're selling to the gaming industry or the
Mhm.
hotel industry. They have niche verticals where they know the pain points, they know the CFOs who are going to be signing off on this. They know all the decision makers. We don't have the expertise in the hotels, in healthcare, in government. Yeah, we have people there, but we partner with people who have this deep expertise and can be the feet on the ground for us. And any good seller, I always say, like I do a lot of interviews. I interview a lot of people for not just on my team, but our sales team. And I always say a really good seller is those who use our partners and as the extended arm of their sales team. You see a lot of sellers who want to take that deal from start to finish and close it and just throw the paperwork to the partner. That's not a good seller. So I'll get to partner a second. A good seller doesn't do that. A good seller says, hey, I've got an opportunity. Let's work on this together. So I'm going to train you on the next deal, and now you're off on your own and you're hunting for me in my region. That's really good. That's someone looking ahead.
Yep, got it. And so if you're doing channel, you really talked a lot about training and education of the network, and that's your obligation, as well as specialist support. Those are the obligations you've got is when you're supporting a channel the way you do.
Yeah. And there's different types of channels, right? It could be someone who's doing sales. They can be someone who's doing services. They can be implementing our software. They could be consulting, like the major, big global systems integrators. There's different capacities from very, very small to very large. So we don't have that capacity in-house. So we use our network of people to provide that for us.
So what makes a good channel partner then?
Yeah, a good channel partner is one who, steps up into the business, not just like, oh, give me a lead and I'll take it and then I'll go away. It's someone who is going to actively participate, who's going to take that training, who understands the product, the solution, who knows their counterpart at Trend Micro, their seller, who's working alongside them, who really actively engages, someone who's leading with Trend, or someone who, if they're hearing a customer problem because they're in front of a customer and goes, wait a second, that fits the Trend Micro solution. Let me engage the Trend seller because I know this person, I like this person, and I trust them because they've worked together. So it really is a trust network, a friend network, but it's really understanding not only the solution, but how to put that solution against where those customer pain points are.
Right.
I'm looking for partners who are leading, who are interested in, investing in that knowledge, not just taking a lead, disappearing, taking the next lead, disappearing.
Got it. Well, and it sounded like, vertical expertise or market expertise was at a premium for you, right? So if I said, look, I've got deep expertise in municipal police forces, for example, right? Yeah, I saw your eyes get all bright, right? You'd be like, sign me up, right? Because you could bring me something that I'll never get to on my own, and you have the knowledge of that market that is special. So that feels like a big element for you.
Yeah, so think about like with cybersecurity, it's like a horizontal application, whereas a municipal police force vertical, hotel vertical, it's healthcare vertical. So we don't have the deep expertise in all of these different verticals, but we go deep in that horizontal cyber layer. So we can tell you where it is that you need the security, but that you layer in that specific pain point for the policing, for healthcare, for insurance, for government. They all have different needs. They are all using different applications. So that's where a partner who has vertical expertise comes in and says, I know that they're using this application. They have this compliance that they need to adhere to. Okay, let's layer in the cyber this way. So, it really is a symbiotic relationship if you do it right.
Love it. Now, how do you think about managing your channels in the sense of, A, B, and C players managing up, managing out, just like you would with your personnel, right? Your team. How do you think about that? How do you rate them? How do you coach them? How do you move them out? How do you think about, optimizing your network?
Yeah, so you get a lot of partners that just sign on to the website because they have a one-time deal and they want to get the discount on it.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got a lot of those. There's over 35,000 partners in the network. Not all of them are transacting every single year. So it's going to be sort of the 80-20 rule. And there's, in most companies, you have that bronze, silver, gold, platinum level, the platinum being the invitation only. They're making a certain amount of revenue per year. They get the most benefits. They get one-to-one relationship with you. They get a channel account manager, a technical account manager. So that's locked in. Then you go to your next level. And usually your bronze bronze and silver are those who are maybe in the SMB side, or small and medium
Sure.
business side. And so they're making less dollars for the company, so they get less benefits, but there's a lot more of them. So it's managed by a different team. So each year we look at what the revenue was that was brought in by that partner, plus the amount of deals. You could have a big revenue partner, but it maybe is a one-time renewal.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that partner leading with you? Is that partner really building the business with you? Yes, they're important. All partners are. But are they the right partner to be in your platinum program where they're going to be managed by one account manager? Probably not if it's one-time renewal. So
Yeah.
you look at the number of deals, you look at how much that revenue is coming in, and you look at, are they selling your enterprise product, or are they selling your small and medium business product or commercial product? So there's different ways of layering that approach, and every year we look at the end of the year, and then we put the partners back into, okay, this partner has really stepped up.
Yep.
We're going to do the invitation only and have them managed by one person only, because we can build a business with them and grow it really substantially if we put some effort into it. So that's how
there's a promotion process. I'm a soccer guy, so there's promotion and relegation normally, right? Is there relegation as well? Like, hey, you just didn't meet the numbers, we're going to move you down, and you're not going to get a one-on-one with this person.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's just part of doing business.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So we do give, offer incentives, offer spiffs, offer training. So it is in our best interest to get as many partners up the stack as possible.
Sure.
But sometimes things happen where partners consolidate, they get acquired, they go out of business, whatever. So that those numbers start dropping. And, we try to look into the reason why. It could be because they lost a big customer. Why they lose that maybe that customer went out a bit. There could be a whole lot of backstory. So we really try to do the right thing for that partner and make the right business decision. And it's usually alongside them. If you know your partners well enough, you know what's going on behind the scenes.
Got it. Interesting. So let's go over to your hobby for a little bit.
Is it a hobby? You asked.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not sure that's the right word. Maybe obsession. So I should share, Louise climbs really big mountains. That's her fun thing to do. Scary big mountains. So around the world, there are 7 summits, one in every continent, of the highest mountain on every continent. And she is going to be completing the 7 summits next year, but she has already done Everest. Yeah.
I have, yes. On my first try. Gotta
Well
mention,
done.
sometimes it doesn't happen on the first try.
No, I have a friend. Well, Steven, who's one of our partners, who's gearing up to do it. And all I said was just come back alive, please, because that doesn't always happen either, right?
Yes, that's true. Yes.
Yeah. So which route did you take up Everest? For those that read, Krakauer's book, you probably know about this, but which route did you take?
I took the south side,
which is the more common one, right?
Yeah. It is. Yeah. And I know Steven's going north side.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the north side is a little bit more tricky just because of permits. Getting access to the mountain can be a little bit harder. So most people do take the south side just because it's, on the Nepalese side, and, you can get the permits, whereas north side is Tibet, China, and the permits are not issued every single year, or sometimes pulled at the last minute. And now you're stuck without an expedition.
He, at the moment, has a permit, so we'll see.
I really wish the best for him.
So was it crowded on the mountain? Because you see these stories about, back up, particularly at the Hillary Step as people climb. Was it crowded on your summit day, or was it sort of relatively easy? How did that go for you?
It was crowded.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. So I summited in 2018, and the picture by Nim Sherpa came out in 2019 with that massive line of people going up to the summit. So that famous picture. And since then, it's kind of gotten a little bit worse. But here's the thing. So between when I summited and the next year, when the picture came out, there's a small percentage of more permits that were issued the next year. The difference was, the year that I summited, we had 10 days of good weather window.
Oh, wow. What a window. Wow.
So you could spread out those people along the mountain. Whereas 2019, almost the same number of people, but they only had a 3-day weather window. So now you all have to go up at the same time. And so the perception is, oh, it's so crowded and there's so many people and they shouldn't be. But if you look, I really firmly believe you need two sides to every story. If you looked at the other side of the story, wait a second, if you're reporting on something you're not really familiar with, you really need to ask some questions, but sometimes you don't know what questions to ask. And so a basic reporter may not know, well, what was the weather window like that year? They
Right.
won't know that, right?
Yeah.
And I saw where, in 2019, someone from New York, one of the New York TV companies flew to Kathmandu and was reporting on how disastrous the year was that year. And I'm thinking, you're coming from New York. You don't even know what to add. I'm like, oh, it was driving me crazy. So yes, it was crowded for me as well. But it was crowded because people are going so slow. I made a promise to myself that I was not going to, if I didn't summit, it wasn't due to fitness. So part of, what I do a lot of speaking, and part of my speaking is being able to let go of control. I'm a little bit in control of a lot of things, or that's how I prefer it. But gearing
We
up.
call ourselves control enthusiasts, by the way. Yes.
Oh, okay, not control freak. Okay, good,
Not a
good.
control freak, just an enthusiast.
Okay, that's better. I gotta use that one. But when you're gearing up for something so large, it's all consuming. It like was panicking me. And I recognize there's so many things I can't control, like the weather, like the permits, like how many people, the team, my health even. So I let go of everything that I couldn't control. The one thing I could control though was my fitness. So I made sure I was extraordinarily fit for that climb. So when I got on the mountain, being really, really fit, even I did get sick though, but I was really fit. Trying to pass people on the mountain is near impossible. Not only is sometimes the ridge is really narrow, but you have to pass two people. So it's the climber plus the guide, and then you just get to the next two people and you're like, well, they're slow. So you have to unclip, reclip.
Yeah.
You can't not be secure to the mountain. So you clip into their backpack, or they extend their arm and you clip into their arm and then you clip in. But I just felt like it was really slow. I could have gone faster, but I couldn't because the whole route was really slow. And
Were you able to just give that up and say, this is the speed we're going at?
I had to, because every time I got to the next two people, I was in front of two more slow people. But the problem is you get cold. I was doing Supermans or superhumans while on the ropes. I was, stomping my boots, just trying to keep my feet warm. I was getting a little panicked, like, wow, I just, I really need to speed things up. And then eventually, the lines start getting, people back away, eventually it's not like that as you go way, way up. As you get higher, it's less and less people.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
How long did you spend on the summit?
Oh, not even 10 minutes.
Yeah, I know all that work, right?
Most people don't realize it's a 7-week trip.
Yeah.
And
Well, I was going to go. How did you find the time, given you've got a remarkably responsible job? How did you find the time to go do this?
that's another lesson learned. So, as much as I think I contribute to the company, as much as I think I'm really, really important, 7 weeks off, the company still survived. Imagine.
It's shockingly still here, right?
Yes, I thought, no, that couldn't happen, but it did.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things, it was a lesson learned for me as well. As much as, like, I was really grateful for Trend Micro. And, I asked my boss at the time, I want to take 2 months off work. He said, yes. I thought he heard 2 weeks off work. And so I said, no, I really want to confirm 2 months. And he goes, yes. And then you use the alive comment. He said, just come back alive. And
That's
that
it.
was the only thing he asked of me. He didn't ask me if I, get a backup, if I do all these things beforehand and put in all this extra time. It wasn't like that at all. It was just come back alive. I had the freedom to just go, be, and fulfill this life obsession without any thought of, okay, I gotta really catch up on all this. The company is like, well, it wasn't like that at all. I'm to this day, I'm extremely grateful.
Oh,
for that response and for the support that I got from the company. It was phenomenal. And I really encourage, any managers listening, any corporations, like, if you have I think I'm a pretty good employee. I try to do my best every single day. And if you have someone who, don't stop them from doing a great thing for them, because they can pay it back in so many different ways. And to this day, I still talk about how grateful I am that Trend Micro just said, yes, go fulfill your life dream. We're going to be okay. And we just want you back alive. Wow. What a
Phenomenal.
way. What a way to take,
There's
yeah.
a lot of faith in there, right? I mean, longer story, but I say, you look, if you just follow this standard, be an adult professional, you're going to mostly make the right decision. And they trusted you to say, look, Louise, you're going to go do this, but we trust you're going to be an adult professional. You'll figure out how to manage the backstopping and the whatever. And
I did.
yeah, of course you did, because you're an adult
Right.
professional, right? Of course you did, right? They trusted you to do that, which is amazing.
Yeah, I wasn't looking to leave the business in a mess. So yeah, without having to say it, I did everything I needed to make sure everything was in place. And yeah, I'm forever grateful for that.
So you're maybe two more questions here. You said it was a life obsession. When did you sort of the dime drop and said, I think I'm going to try to climb Everest? How old were you? What caused that to happen?
Yeah, so it's a series of events, and it wasn't like one day I woke up or I got to climb Mount Everest. It wasn't that at all. And I firmly believe things come into your life, little breadcrumbs that we don't necessarily see.
Yep.
And when I look back on my summit of Everest, I realized there were a whole lot of breadcrumbs that were happening that I didn't even know were leading me to the summit.
Mm.
And so it goes back years and years and years. And, it starts like I lived in Ottawa, Canada. I got divorced. It wasn't what I wanted. It's something I had to accept. I needed to move. I wanted to get away. I asked my boss, can I? And can I move to our satellite office in California? A year later, he said yes. Wasn't right away. I moved and I was lonely. I didn't know anyone. I was working out of a satellite office. I didn't know what I was. I'm like, what was I thinking? And a friend of mine, and you referenced the book, said, read this book about the 1996 Everest disaster that killed many.
For those who wanted, Into Thin Air by John Krakauer. It's a good book.
It's amazing. And, just reading the book, I didn't say I'm going to climb it. That was for professionals. That was for climbers. I'm not a climber, but it sparked something in me that I didn't know existed. And that is the concept of high altitude mountaineering. So, 4 years later, this is over a very, very long period of time, I got laid off from a different job. I had nowhere to go the next day, and they gave me a severance package. So I had already made a promise to myself that I wanted to see Mount Everest in real life, just see it. I'm not a climber. I'm not going to climb it. And so I jumped on an adventure company was leaving in 2 weeks to go to Everest base camp.
You did the trek, which is great. Yeah, I want to do that.
Oh, I highly recommend it. It's fascinating. And 2 weeks later, I landed in Kathmandu, and I didn't know I was going to be 3 weeks in a tent because I didn't do this. Wasn't a hiker. I didn't do any of this. And I did it. And I went, wait a second. It sparked something in me that I couldn't turn away from. And I made a promise to myself I was going to climb that mountain one day. And this is, again, after 4 years of reading all kinds of books on mountaineering. And from that point forward, it was 14 years from that day that I summited Everest. So I traveled all around the world, climbing the world's highest mountains. And, you reference the 7 summits, and but more mountains, like all over the world. Name any other mountain, I think I've been there. And to get that muscle memory and really understand the climate, the conditions of the mountain, how to climb. Like, every mountain's different. And so it was a long journey. It was 18 years journey before the time of, I understood something was here to the time I actually did it. But the interesting thing is, I thought my journey was over. I reached the summit. Well, that journey is over. No, it's still going on. Like, the things that have entered my life since then, I never knew existed. And I'm just fascinated. I'm amazed, actually, at what else is out there. And I do speak a lot now, which I never thought would be even possible. And I really try to encourage people to just accept new opportunities, new things coming into their life. someone suggests reading a book. Wait a second, that book changed my life.
Mm.
That person came into my life for a period of time, moved to the other side of the world. I don't see her anymore, but she was there for a period of time. I needed that person in my life at that moment to get me started on my journey. I didn't know that I needed to get divorced to start on my journey. I needed to move countries and feel lonely and all these kind of negative emotions, the lonely, the sad, and that got me to the summit of Everest. I can't imagine I'm not experiencing them now. And I'm so grateful for them. Like there's just so much more ahead. And so I try to use that. Like I'm going through something bad. Oh, wait, it's okay. It's part of my journey. Accept it, move on.
That's phenomenal. You're obviously a big law of attraction person, right? Things come into your life for a reason. You attract them into your life, whether you mean to or not. But also, change happens when we're uncomfortable, right? So being uncomfortable is about the change process, right? Things are happening when you're uncomfortable. And we see so many people that go, I don't want to be uncomfortable. I don't want to feel like I don't know what I'm doing. And you go, well, that's a choice, but then you're not going to expand and grow and morph yourself over time.
And some things, bad things happen for a good reason. And I am a firm believer now that if I didn't get laid off, I was punched in the gut when that happened. But that set me on a course. I didn't have 3 weeks off to go to Everest Base Camp, and they gave me severance package. I'm like, well, I have nowhere else to go. I might as well go to base camp. That was life-changing, right? If you stay still and you stay in a little bubble, and you don't accept new, you don't accept change, then again, laws of attraction, it won't come to you. I feel like now I'm open to whatever. Open to change, open to opportunity, open to, sometimes even things that are bad. Okay, this is okay. It's going to get good again. It's part of there's breadcrumbs all over. I'm accepting it. Yeah, it's different. It's actually very freeing when you think that way versus constant anxiety. Oh, I don't want things to change. No, it's actually good. Good change is great.
Yeah. The Navy SEALs have a phrase, they embrace the suck. So right when things just suck, you just embrace it. It's going to be okay. You're going to get through it. I need to wrap up. What's the last mountain? Is it Antarctica and Vincent Mastiff?
No, I did that one. It's Denali in our own country here in the US. I actually tried it before. We got stuck at 14,000.
It's a hard climb.
It is. And I've tried it, and we had to turn away. We got stuck. We had someone in our camp who died. We had someone else fall into a crevasse. We were just like hunkering down for almost 2 weeks in our tent. We couldn't move anywhere. It was miserable.
Oh so my gosh. Well, we may have to talk. We'll do that on another podcast, I think.
Okay.
Louise, this was spectacular. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for your ideas and your insight. It was great. I'm sure the audience really appreciated it. So thank you.
I appreciate the conversation. You've been great.
It's good. Thank you. And we'll see you all next time on the Lazy CEO podcast. Thanks for joining us. This podcast is brought to you by the CEO Project. At the CEO Project, we work with CEOs to help them grow their business. And our members represent billions of dollars of revenue and profit. And frankly, amongst all of us, we've probably made every mistake in the book, including some you haven't made yet. So if you want to learn from the experience of a bunch of really seasoned CEOs, we're a great place to hang out. In this podcast, what you're going to hear are some of those ideas, concepts, and things that are just going to help you on your journey. If you want to find out more, reach out to us at theceoproject.com, or you can contact me personally at jim@theceoproject.com. Happy listening.
Thanks for listening to the Lazy CEO podcast. We'll see you next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes, and check out our website, www.theceoproject.com.